Well, let's get reaction now live from Ukraine. We're joined by Iuliia Mendel, who's the former press secretary to President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Iuliia joining us now live from Lviv. Iuliia, good evening to you. Give us your reaction to this latest death of a journalist and France opening this war crimes investigation.
Well, Mark, journalists in Ukraine cover actually war crimes, and Arman Soldin was one of them since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion. He was covering everything that was happening, and he became one more target of the war crimes, Russian war crimes. Let me say that National Union of Journalists counted at least 59 of journalists who were killed by Russians. So at least 14 of them were fulfilling their duties. Some of them were joined the armed forces of Ukraine, and some were just killed, at home by Russian missile as a former editor of Radio of Liberty. And I read so many condolences and so many warm words from the colleagues of Arman. And I understand he was really a very distinguished and dignant person and distinguished journalist. This is terrible to see how my colleagues are dying to show the world what Russia is doing here. And my sincere condolences to everyone who knew him and to his family.
Iuliia, we heard earlier from Andrei Kostin, the prosecutor, about the scale of the war crimes investigation as it is. This is another aspect to it. How important is it that justice is seen to be done, and seen to be done right to the top of the command chain?
Yes, after the beginning of the full-scale invasion, over 82,000 of war crimes have been registered by General Prosecutor Office in Ukraine. But let me just say that Russia started its aggression in 2014, and since then we have counted already over 100,000 of war crimes, including their explosion of the blow-up of MH17 plane, where around 300 of people were killed. So, it's very important to work out with the international community the needed format of bringing all those guilty, holding them accountable, bringing them to justice. We are actually moving to this breakthrough moment, because if we do something wrong right now, it can all set us for years behind. If we just can show to the world that anyone as Putin can come and make so mass murders and destruction and then just get away of this without any consequences, this can bring really huge consequences for the world justice, for the international law, and for the all norms on which our societies are built. So it's really very important. And I can say that right now, 37 countries have joined already the platform of international efforts to build the necessary tribunal. Right now, there are discussions about how this hybrid tribunal or international tribunal should be formed to bring to justice people as Putin, as Russian leadership, and all those who were committing the war crimes, fulfilling the orders of the leadership of Russia in Ukraine.
Indeed, all this echoing the words of Volodymyr Zelenskyy when he was in The Hague. Iuliia, can I ask you about Bakhmut, this news that Russia has made a retreat? Do you have any observations on that?
Well, yes, I talked to people who are in general staff and to the soldiers in Bakhmut. And let me say, Mark, I don't know if you've noticed, but in the recent days, the founder of private military company Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, he really was too emotional, close to hysterics. In the recent days, he's been accusing military leadership of the country, Minister Shoigu, Minister of Defense, and pleading to Putin to provide more ammunition. He even said that he would retreat from Bakhmut on May 10th. Then there were a lot of exchanges that they were promised the ammunition, but then he said that nothing was coming. So this public dialogue was very emotional in the recent days. And we understand that the regrouping has happened, and other Russian units came to change Wagner's. And these Russian units, they were more poorly prepared, and they really were in poor condition. So right now what we see that Ukraine's had success in counteroffensive, but I'm very cautious about these successes for the reason that I know that there are a lot of Russian units there. And even despite of the fact that I hear the rumors that Ukraine would want to encircle Wagner right now. I'm really very cautious of Putin's aggression and how much symbolism Putin puts in Bakhmut, and about the fact that there are so many, enormously a lot of Russian troops there. So I pray and I hope that next steps of Ukraine's counteroffensive will be successful. We are all preparing to this. As you know, my home region, Kherson in the south, is being shelled hugely. Russians are very aggressive towards just civilians, villages, cities and towns, because they want to do everything to stop Ukrainians in the counteroffensive. What we are doing, we are preparing, and we're still waiting for the promised weapons and promised equipment, for the reason that logistics takes time, and that's the delay. The reason, one of the reasons of the delay.
Iuliia Mendel, we need to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for giving us that insight into what people are thinking high up in Ukraine, and of course on the ground where it counts. Iuliia Mendel, former press advisor to Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Thank you for joining us live from Lviv.
Thank you, Mark.
Pleasure to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Stay safe, please.